Hello all and welcome to Crochet Designs. My name is Mary and in today's tutorial we are working on this gorgeous little placemat that you see right here or here. Now get this. This, by the way, is also included as a Mother's Day gift if you're interested there. But get this, these are both the same yarn weights except this is a wool and that is an acrylic. So I just wanted to let everyone know that this is actually a 10 ply or an Aran weight or a number 4 weight, and that is a 10 ply Aran weight, number 4 weight. This is our Spot Saver yarn here in Melbourne, Australia, and this is our Bendigo Woolen Mills Luxury 100% pure wool. So just to let everyone know that it depends on your particular brand of weight for the sizing. Now, if we want to talk about sizing, this one here from memory was 23 centimeters across. Pop the inches right there. And this one here was and still is 26 centimeters across. So I'll pop those measurements right there. Now, the problem I found that when I was working with this one here, it was so dark to see on air. So I did another one in these colors here. And as you know, these are the colors of this particular cardigan right here, which we are going to be doing on the channel in a couple of weeks' time. Get excited, guys. But in the meantime, these were the little, I don't know what you want to call them, placemats. I made them so that they fit a soup bowl for mum. For your mum or for the lady in your life. So there you go. And that's that. And I just wanted to let you know this was a 10 ply yarn and I used the 5mm hook for both of them. Okay. You will need a scissors, stitch marker and one sewing needle because you will have threads. Now, if you don't want to change your threads, I give you the option to just slip stitch across so you don't need to change threads. And the other thing is this particular colour combination right here was chosen by the wonderful Marty and the lovely Kiki, 2 subscribers from our live antics. It's a live antics. We call it live antics because on 10 a.m. Saturday morning, Melbourne, Australia time, we have a little thing called live antics where I pop 3 or 4 skeins of yarn on a table and I get a subscriber to choose the colour combination. In this case, the 2 of them got together and decided to do that. So that was great, and I will choose whoever's on the live and wants to be a part of our live antics project, and these were the colors that they chose, and thank you very much Marty and Kiki for that. So now what I did was I told them, look, those will be your colors, but I will be doing the V-Stich for you. They don't know what I'm making until it's made, and that's the surprise, and that's the fun of it all. Really, it is a lot of fun and a lot of mucking around. We have a lot of fun on our lives, way too much fun, and there you go. Alrighty guys, so I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm just going to let you get started making your gorgeous V-Stich placemat, which I've decided to put down as a gift for Mother's Day. Thank you so much for joining me and good luck all. Alrighty guys, we're going to start off by making a quick slip knot, grabbing the tail end of your yarn, wrap it around your finger once and twice, holding it there and holding it down there. Yep. Pass your back loop halfway over your finger, hold it there, pass the other loop all the way over your finger, pop your hook in that loop and give everything a tug. Now we're going to do chain 5. And a chain is yarn over your hook, pull it through to the loop, 1, yarn over, 2, yarn over, 3, 4, and 5. All right, so you've got your 5 chains. Pop your hook in that very first chain you did, just push it through like so, and you're holding it down there, yes, and you're just pulling a loop over your hook, pull it through to the loop you are in, and then pull it through to the loop on your hook, and you have formed a circle. That's called a slip stitch. All right, now we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, and 3. I'm sorry, chain 3 first. Grab your stitch marker, and I had to use blue, didn't I? Pop your stitch marker through your top 2 loops of that chain and 1 loop on the bottom. close it up. Now if you don't have a stitch marker, you can use a piece of thread, you can use paper clip, safety pin, whatever you have in stock. All right, and now you're going to chain one more. Now we're going to put a double crochet in that center. We're going to crochet over this tail as well. A double crochet is yarn over your hook, right into that space there, pull a loop through, 1, 2, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2. All right, if you don't want to crochet over your tail, you don't have to. Okay, chain 1, and you're going to do that again. So yarn over your hook, in the space, pull a loop through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Chain 1, and again. So you're going to do that for another 1, 2, 3, 12, take away 3, 9. Well, you know what I mean. We need 12 of these in the same center. So you've got 1, 2, and these chains will act as 3. Okay, so let's do a 4th double crochet in, loop through, 3 loops, yarn over, 2, 2 loops, yarn over, 2, and that's your 4th one, chain 1, and that's what you're doing in the center. Off you go. 1, well this is 5, sorry, chain 1, 6, chain 1, 7, chain 1, 8, chain 1, 9, chain 1, 10, chain 1, 11, chain 1, 12, chain 1. Just pop your little tail at the back, make sure that's not in front. You now officially have, what you really have is 11 double crochets, 11 chains, and then you have these chains here, which is your 12th chain, and your 3 chains here will classify as your double crochet in this round. Okay, so now what we're going to do is slip stitch to join right in that stitch marker there. So pop your hook in that stitch marker stitch. You can take your stitch marker out if it annoys you too much. Pull your loop through and pull it through to the loop on your hook, and you now have a circle, if you will, or a center. Yes? Now from here we are going to slip stitch into that V-stitch space. In an actual fact, every space in this round is a V-stitch space. So you are going to slip stitch into there just for this part, pull a loop through and pull it through to the loop on your hook, chain 1, 2 and 3, grabbing your stitch marker and popping it in your 3rd, or that top stitch that you just did, or the last one I should say. 2 loops on top, 1 on the bottom. Now you are going to chain 1 more, which will classify as your double crochet and a chain 1 in this round. Then you're going to pop a double crochet in that same center, and in you go with a double crochet, all in the same space. All right, the next step we do is a repeat for the whole round. Okay, so yarn over your hook in that chain space right there. So you're going to skip this double crochet and hop into that chain space. So in that chain space there, you're going to put what we call the V-stitch, and the V-stitch is a double crochet, chain 1 and a double crochet. So let's go in that space right there. So you skip that double crochet and you're in the space, 1 double crochet, chain 1 and another double crochet, all in the same space. All right, now you're going to jump into there. You're not chaining or anything when you're going into your next space. So you're just going to jump into your next space with a V-stitch, double crochet, chain 1 and double crochet. That's all you need to remember. Skip that double crochet, jump into your space with your V-stitch. V. Still too close, yeah? All right, so just continue that in the round. Skip V, chain 1. All right, so what I'm going to do is pop this on fast for you, and you continue to do that until you get to the space right before this stitch here. All right, right before your stitch marker, and off we go. Alrighty guys, how did you go? Let me get a close-up, because this part here can be a tad tricky when you get closer. We still have one left here. You're going to jump into that space with a V-stitch. Oops, move that out the way for a minute. Hello. Chain 1 and double crochet. And we're going to count our V-stitches. Alright. Okay, so our V-stitches are these little blobs you see right here. These are your V-stitches. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And you should have 12 V-stitches. 12 stitches from a previous round and 12 V-stitches from this round right here. So this is what we have so far. What we're going to do is slip stitch into that stitch with your stitch marker in it. Okay, so pop your hook in that stitch, take out your stitch marker like so. Yes, so pull your loop through and pull it through to the loop on your hook. Now ordinarily, if we were going to continue with this colour, we would have slip stitched into this chain 1 space and did our first V-stitch, but we are changing colours. So what I want for you to do now is to just pull a loop through like that, giving your work a cut. Now if you want to keep this colour, then keep it, that's okay. All right, so what I want you to do now is normally I would start weaving in ends, but I think we might do it after we do this one colour. All right, so what you're going to do is there's your chain 5 that we started off with, and there's your little tail end. I'm going to pop my hook in that centre. I would actually normally start from somewhere else at this stage, but yours truly, just so that we can show you exactly what we've done. Let's just say for argument's sake, you popped your hook in there. Yes. Grab your next colour, which in my case is the pink. All right. So everyone else who hasn't changed colour would be in that centre there. For the rest of us, we're going to be in there as well. And that's way too close. All right, so grabbing your tail, just popping it over your hook. Pull your tail through like so, just grab your little tail end. Pass it forward for a minute because we're going to lock that into place. Okay, first thing we're going to do is chain 1, 2, and 3. And in that third one, you're going to pop your stitch marker like so, like you've been doing all along. It's a little different this round because we're going to have increases in this round, all right? You're still going to chain your 1 and you're still going to pop a double crochet in the same space. And that's your first V-stitch. All right, pop that little tail at the back now because you've crocheted over it and locked it into place, right? In this round, there are sometimes you will be skipping the 2 double crochets and sometimes you won't be, okay? For first 2 V-stitches, you're skipping these 2 double crochets, actually 1 really. There's your first V-stitch, skip 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and in the center of your next V-stitch, you're popping your V-stitch of 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. After every second V-stitch, you're going to pop a V-stitch in between those 2 double crochets because this is your increase. So when you are increasing, you're popping a V-stitch in between your 2 V-stitches from the previous round. So you're skipping 1 double crochet only, popping your V-stitch in there, like that. All right. And now you're going back to normal V-stitches. So you're going to jump straight into your next V-stitch where there's a chain space, that is. Wherever you see a chain space, you're doing a V-stitch. One V-stitch in that first chain space. A second V-stitch in your next chain space. And remember what we do after every second V-stitch? We pop one in between the next V-stitch and the one that you're in, all right? That's your increase. So that's you skipping one double crochet and then you're doing your V-stitch in there as well, all right? And again, into your normal chain space with a V-stitch. Chain one, double crochet, and into the next chain space with your second V-stitch. And now we're up to our increase. And our increase would be to go between the two V-stitches with a V-stitch. All right, I hope you're getting the picture here. After every second double crochet, you are increasing. I'm sorry, after every second V-stitch, you are increasing. All right, so now we do two V-stitches, one in the first, or one in your second, and then you have your increase in between the two V-stitches. You do a V-stitch, chain one, double crochet, got your 1, 2 and your increase, and now you're going to jump into your next V-stitch. One, chain one, and a double. Next V-stitch, one, chain one, and your double, and that is your two V-stitches. Oops, that is your two V-stitches. Now you're going to do that increase in between your V-stitches. One, chain one, and a double. All right, so from here we have a few V-stitches left, only two. All right, so you're going to do your normal two V-stitches, one, chain one, and another double. In your next V-stitch, you're doing your normal V-stitch. Now, if you're anything like me, I'm going to crochet over that tail, but not too tightly because you have a space here, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So we're going to pop a V-stitch in your next one, which is your second V-stitch for this round, or for the end of this round, yes. Now, normally you would slip stitch to join, but you have to put another increase just before your first V-stitch, because we went 1, 2, increase, 1, 2, increase. We did that all the way around. We got here, there was our last increase, and then 1, 2, you still need to do a last increase. All right, hope that made sense. And off you go doing your increase in there. Well, increase, your normal V-stitch, yeah? Now, just before you slip stitch, make sure you have 18 V-stitches. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 V-stitches. All right, so how gorgeous is it looking so far? So what we're going to do now is we're still going to use the same colour, okay? We are going to slip stitch to join right in the top of that stitch where our stitch marker is, like so. Okay, you can take out that stitch marker. All right, because we're using the same colour, we are going to slip stitch into the centre of our next space. So slip stitch into the centre of your next space, pull the loop through like so. Now, when we're doing our increase round on this one here, normally we would do the same thing we did in this round, but by doing that we'll make points everywhere. So I'm going to do increase rounds a little different in this row. It'll still be increasing after every now third set, but it'll just be a little bit different. There's an increase there and an increase there. What I want to do is pop my increase in the very next space. But for now, let's chain 3. 1, 2, 3, popping our stitch marker in there. like so. Okay, and then you're chaining another 1 for your V-stitch and popping a double crochet in the same space. Yeah. Now normally you would keep going and you do your increase around there. I'm going to do it here, right here now. So we're going to skip the first double crochet. We're going to go in between the 2 V-stitches and do a V-stitch increase. 1 right there. Now it's V-stitch, and look at this, I've got a knot. It's V-stitch all the way through for the next 3 V-stitches and then the increase, all right? So there's your first V-stitch right there. You go 1 V-stitch in there. One into your second one. One into your third one. All right, so what we've done is we did our first V-stitch, we did our increase, and then we went 1, 2, 3, and now we're going to do an increase, and the increase is done between the 2 V-stitches as we did in our previous round. So do your increase of V-stitch in between those 2 V-stitches, and then you do 3 V-stitches, increase, 3 V-stitch, increase. So let's do one more set together. V-stitch in your next V-stitch, 1, V-stitch in your next, 2, V-stitch in your next, 3. And right in that space before your V-stitch, that little space, you're doing your increase. All right, I think you know what you're doing, yeah? All right, so let me show you what you've done. There's your first V-stitch. You've done an increase there. Then we went 1, 2, 3, increase. 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 You should be left with 2. So you go 1, 2, and there's your third one right there, and your increase was there. All right. So what I want you to do is continue in that manner. We've done our increase, yeah. So your next step to do here is 1, 2, 3 V-stitches, and then you do your increase and so on. All right, continue in that manner, get to the end of this row, and I'll meet you back here once you're done. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of the row. We've got a couple of ends which we're going to talk about in a minute. But for now, make sure you've counted your V-stitches, and you should have 24 V-stitches. Now, if you don't, just focus on your increase. There was your first V-stitch, and that was your first increase, yeah? And then we went 1, 2, 3, increase. 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 1, 2, and that one was your third one before the increase. All right, so just check that now if you've got any math issues, because it's all about maths, isn't it? Right. All right, so we are going to slip stitch directly into that stitch with your stitch marker in it. Pull the loop through like so, as you've been doing every round. Take out your stitch marker. Now, if you're not going to change your yarn, just slip stitch into that center like so, right? But if you're changing your yarn like we are, or I am, pull up a loop like normal, give your work a cut, and just pull that thread through. Before we do anything else, okay, just quickly, let's grab a sewing needle and let's go to one of these ends, all right? So it's a little trickier in this particular piece to weave in some ends because we've only got a small amount to weave through. But what I do is, let's just thread our needle first. Now this is the wrong needle for this yarn, it's a bit thin, but doesn't matter. All right, what I actually do is I split the blue yarn in there like so, and I split through to there. You can probably see it going through, and split right through to the second section there. Just check that you can't see your needle in front, okay? Otherwise, you'll be able to see your blue. And then I just pull it through like that. It is a little tricky, and actually it's a bit hard to pull through because I've split the blue thread. And we're going to go back in the same direction we came from, just, you know, catching another thread somewhere else and splitting through somewhere else. All right, just check the front again, making sure you can't see your needle, and just pop that yarn or that needle through like so. And I think 2 is plenty, because if you remember, we crocheted over the first bit. If you haven't, I would go through another time, or if you didn't crochet over it, and just give it a bit of a cut there and just gently tug, and it hides inside the split yarn that you did. All right, and I'm going to show you quickly this blue tail here. Okay, just one more so you can see what to do with it. Now this center hole right here is supposed to have a gap in this particular pattern. And let me show you the other one that we've got here. Exactly the same, and it has a gap right there. This stitch marker is to remind me to change colors, because I almost forgot in the tutorial, so I need to be reminded to change colors. Yes. All right, so now what you've done, see here your end, we crocheted over it that way. We are still going to find some ends right here and just pull it through in there like so, just a little bit, and pull it through gently, not too much, because that's supposed to be open, that center. Yeah. And now you're going to go into a lot of that thickness, making sure, I forgot to show you before, that you can't see the needle from the front. Just pull that through. Now that's plenty, but guess what? I'm going to go back into the other direction. All right, so find another bit of yarn somewhere else. Notice how I'm coming out of there, yeah? But I'm going to find another bit of yarn there to split. And then I'm splitting inside there as I go along. Make sure you can't see the needle from the front. Right there. I'm going to do one more right in to the other side. Can't see the needle? Yes, good. Just pop it through like so. And then just one more just to hide it into place. No needle. Nope, good. And there we go. And we're done. Now if you wanted to, you could give that, well, before you give it a tug, cut your thread. Yep. And then just give it a tug, and the end will stay. That will not come undone because we've crocheted over it, and now we've weaved over it a few times as well. So you're going to do the same with this other end. I'm going to let you do that off air, and this one eventually when you crochet over it with your very next color, which for me is the yellow. Now you're probably wondering, where have I seen these colors before? Check this out. How gorgeous is that cardigan? Well, we are making that cardigan, maybe not those colors, but that cardigan as well, and you can use those colors if you like, but we are making that cardigan on the channel here in a couple of weeks time, so get excited about that, guys. I'm just trying to sort out sizing, and then we'll make it for all sizes, and you can make your own to suit you. All right, but in the meantime, we're going to get on with our very next step. Now we pulled our loop through there, so just to keep in sync, we're going to pop our hook back into the same space. Now if you didn't cut your thread, you will be in this space right here. All right, so let me grab that thread and pull that through. Like we did with the pink, we're going to do the same with the yellow. All right, now we're going to chain 1, 2, and 3, and what do we do with our third one? We pop our stitch marker in there. Really important for new crocheters to use stitch markers, because it's easy to get lost here, especially since we are chaining one more for the V-stitch. All right, so now you're going to yarn over your hook and put a double crochet in the same space. All right, just grab that tail at the back. Now remember, we did our increase there. I'm not going to do it there anymore. Now the reason I'm doing it like this is because when you increase in the same spot all the time, you start to get that little almost like a hexagon point eventually, yeah? And we don't want that look. So I'm increasing in different places to give you the option to have it rounder rather than pointed, yeah? All right, so in the meantime, that's the V-stitch where we increased in the previous round, so we don't want to increase anywhere near there. So we're going to do a V-stitch. We're going to skip these 2 double crochets and do the V-stitch in the very next V-stitch. So off you go and popping your V-stitch in there. Chain 1 and double crochet. Now we're doing a V-stitch in the very next V-stitch. Chain 1. Yes, and a V-stitch in your very next V-stitch. Chain 1 and V-stitch, finish it off. All right, so what you have is V-stitch 1, 2, 3 and 4. Guess what you're going to do now? An increase. So between this V-stitch and your next one, you're going to pop your increase with your V-stitch. Chain 1 and finish off. Oops. And that's what you have. 1, 2, 3, 4 V-stitch in your increase. Yeah. Now you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 increase, 1, 2, 3, 4 increase, and so on all the way through. So let's do our 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Sorry about that noise, that's just a stitch mark on the table. Sorry guys. All right, so what have you done? You've done your 1, 2, 3, 4, increase 1, 2, 3, 4. Guess what? Increase right in the middle of those 2 sets. All right, it's super duper easy, yeah? So that's what I want you guys to do from now on for this round, I should say. I was going to say row and round together, but I want you to do your 1, 2, 3, 4 increase, 1, 2, 3, 4 increase. When you get to your very last cluster set right here, last V-stitch set right there, just perform your second last one and wait for me there, and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of the round. I still have my last cluster set. I'm going to just crochet over that tail. So we're going to do our last V-stitch set right there, like so. Now, if you remembered before, we did your 4 V-stitches in a row and then you did your increase on your 5th one. We did our last increase there and then we went 1, 2, 3, 4. We still need to do one last increase, and that's over this knotted edge right here, which is a bonus because we can cover it. So off we go and doing our last increase right there. All right, and what you should have in this round is 30 V-stitches. Now take a look at that. This is starting to buckle, and the reason is because now there's way too many increases. So what we're going to do in this round, your next round, is no increasing at all, which is a bonus. You're just going to slip stitch into that stitch right there, like so. Yeah, and where you see every V-stitch, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have showed you close up, would have been better. Well, for starters, let's take out that stitch marker because we've slip stitched, and then let's slip stitch into that space there because we are still using the yellow. Now, if you're changing, just chain your loop, cut it, and then change your yarn, yes? But in the meantime, what we're going to do is chain 1, 2, and 3, popping your stitch marker in there, like so. Yes, chain your 4th one, and then pop your double crochet in the same space. Super duper easy row. You're just going to go into every V-stitch with a, guess what, V-stitch. Now this will tighten your round up. Okay, chain 1, all in every V-stitch, all the way across. Super duper easy. I don't think you need me to show you how to do that. Just a V-stitch in every V-stitch. Get to your second last V-stitch right there, or your last V-stitch I should say, and I'll meet you there once you're done. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of this row, and have you noticed it's kind of flattened out that little bit more? Yeah, we don't get too excited because we're going to do an increase round in the next one. Do you like that? Alright, so we are at the end of this row. I'm going to pop my last V-stitch in there, and you should have 30 V-stitches in the round. Yes. Then what we're going to do is slip stitch into the stitch with your stitch marker, like so. Taking out your stitch marker. We're chaining one because we're changing colours. Now, if you're not changing colours, just slip stitch into that space and start again. All right, but for the rest of us, we are changing back to our blue. This is our final change for this tutorial. All right, so grabbing your blue thread, popping your hook in that center V, pull your loop through, and you know this part, you've been doing it all along. Chain 1, 2 and 3, popping your stitch marker in there like so. Another chain, and complete your V with your double crochet. All right, now that is your very first V-stitch done. Now in this round, you're going to be increasing after every 5th V-stitch, but we're going to start our increase now. All right, so we're going to pop our increase right in that space there between the 2 V-stitches. So pop your increase in there, just a normal V-stitch, but in between those 2 V-stitches, and then you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 V-stitches and then increase. All right, so let's do that real quickly. I'm going to pop this on fast for you for 5 V-stitches and off we go. Chain 1, five. All right, there we go. Now if you're not sure, you've got your 1 V-stitch there, your increase, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you do your increase in between your V-stitch that you're in and the V-stitch that you're about to do. All right, and what are you going to do? 5 V-stitches, increase, 5 V-stitches, increase, 5 V-stitches, increase all the way around. Get to your second last V-stitch right there, and I shall meet you up once you're done. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of this round. Alright, now I've done my second last V-stitch. I'm on to my last V-stitch, and the reason I've asked you to meet me here is so that we can actually crochet over that tail. Again, you don't need to, but if you want to, that's what it'll look like, and it's super duper easy that way. All right, now here, if you remember correctly, we were doing every 5th, after every 5th V-stitch we did an increase, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. This would have been your 5th one, and there's your increase. All right, so you don't need to do any more increases. And the bonus is this was our last increase round. So slip stitch there, pull the loop through, and pull it through to the loop you are in. Get excited, guys. Slip stitch into that spot there, pull the loop through, pull it through to the loop you are in, chain 1, 2, and 3. Pop your stitch marker in like so, chain 1 more, and a double crochet in the same space. Now if you are changing yarn, you should have cut it there, but if not, then you should be where we are right now. All right, so where we're going from here is a simple row of V-stitches in your round. No more increase. By the way, guys, you should have 36 V-stitches in your round so far. If you don't have 36, it kind of means your count's out of whack. Now, if we continue to increase, this is going to happen. it's going to buckle. All right, so now what we're going to do is a V-stitch all the way into every stitch all the way around. Go ahead and do that row, meet me back here and get ready for some pattern change. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of this round. Get excited. Couple of rounds to go, guys. Couple of rounds. This is my very last V-stitch right there. And you would have noticed it's starting to tighten up a little bit. Yeah. Alright, but what we're going to do is slip stitch as usual into the top of that stitch marker or stitch. Like so. Now, this is pattern change. Okay, we're going to change. The next two rows are going to be different. The very last row might be a tad tricky. If you are new to crochet, I say take the risk and try it. If not, I will give you an alternative round. Okay, all right, so if you are here, we're not changing our colors. What we're going to do now is chain one only. And in that same stitch that we are in, we're going to do a single crochet. And a single crochet is pop your hook in the stitch, pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both loops, pop your stitch marker in that stitch right there. All right. Now in that chain space of our V-stitch, you're going to pop a single crochet around the whole space. Pop your hook in, pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. And now the easy part is you're popping a single crochet into every stitch and every chain space. Now the stitches you're going in are these 2 loops here. So in every stitch, but once you get to the chain space, you're popping it around the space. All right. So what you should have, still by the way, you should have 36 V-stitches in the round. So you've got single crochet 1, a single crochet 2 there. You've got 1, well it's 2 altogether, yeah? You've got 1 single crochet into your next stitch, 1 into your next stitch, and 1 into the space. All right, so that's how you remember it. 2 single crochets in a row and 1 in a space. So single 1, single 2, and single in the space. Single 1, single 2, and single in your space. Are you getting it? Yeah, single 1, that double crochet, single 2 in that double crochet, and single in the space. 1, 2, and space. All right, I don't think I need to show you anymore. Your job now is to do exactly that in every stitch and every space. Get to your last V-stitch right there, and I shall meet you up once you're done. Alrighty guys, so here we are at the end of this row here. All right, so what we need to do, I've actually done my last 2 there, and I need to do a single crochet in that V-stitch there, and you still have this 1 double crochet left where you need to put a single crochet in there. Now remember, you've already got a single crochet in that next double crochet before your V-stitch, so all you need to do is slip stitch to join. All right, this now guys is our final row that we're going to do right now. This particular row here, I ended up with 108 stitches. Okay, this particular round is a little bit tricky. It's our final round, and the stitch I'm going to be using is a stitch called the reverse stitch or the crab stitch. Now, not necessary for you to use this stitch. If you wanted to, just do another row or another round, I should say, of single crochets. But for us, we're going to try this crab stitch, and the crab stitch works against everything crocheters do. We always crochet this way, don't we? The crab stitch is going backwards. All right, bit tricky. And again, if you are struggling with it, just do another row of single crochets. Okay, so you're putting your hook right into that stitch that we just did, pull a loop through. You should have 1 and 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. Very tricky stitch, but it's done. Yeah, you're going to go into the very next stitch. You're already in here, and you're going to jump right into that. Let's get even closer if that helps. So you're going to go straight into that stitch. You're holding onto your loop, into that stitch, pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. And skipping the stitch that we are in, jumping into the very next one, and it's a very tricky stitch. To do this stitch, you really need to have some patience. I'll bring it out just a little bit more. All right, so you're holding your thread. There's your next stitch right there. Pop your hook in that next stitch, pull a loop through, and now 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. And what it's doing is it's giving you that gorgeous edge, which I don't know if I can show you on this one. This is why I didn't want to do this color on air, because it's really hard to see. That's the look you are going for. Okay, it's giving you kind of a raised edge look, yeah, which is pretty. All right, so let's try that again. There's your last stitch, going back into that stitch, pull a loop through, and then you can let go of it. 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. So it's kind of like a single crochet, but backwards single crochet, if that helps. So in your next stitch, pull a loop through, 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. In your next one, and so on. It is a tad tricky. Again, if you are struggling with this and you don't like the look of it and it's not as neat as that, and even now I'm sitting there thinking that's a little bit loose there, that's better. So just being careful. If you don't like the look of it, guys, just do a row of single crochet. And you could probably work out some picots and all sorts of other things that you can do in that row as well. But in the meantime, for everyone else, let's all just keep going. I'm going to leave it there, guys. You head off on your own, do the rest of this round, but before you do, what I want to do is just grab the stitch marker. Now remember our first stitch that we did right here. I should have put a stitch marker in it. You can see it right there. This is where we were in. We were actually in there and we jumped straight into there. You can see where the stitch starts, yeah? That's your first bubbled area. That's where we were in, and we jumped back into that stitch. So pop your stitch marker there. I should have told you to do that earlier and I forgot. So head off on your own, continue this round right here, and then meet me back here once you're done. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of our row, okay? And I've got like, and I'll show you exactly, I've got like 1 stitch there, and then you've got that stitch where your knot was in. This is where we put our stitch marker in the stitch that we did. So let's just do that second last stitch. Finish it off. It's a bit tricky, this area, so just be wary about that. Whoops, don't lose your stitch there like I just did. All right, now you've got that stitch there, which you actually haven't completed, not really. You jump straight into the next one. So you need to complete that one. Go into the stitch, pull a loop through, and pull it through to the loop you are in. Yeah. Now we need to close up this. So my suggestion to you is to flip your work like that. Pop your hook in, and we're going to work as though we were working a normal. Oops, don't lose your stitch like I just did there. Hello. Excuse me, Mary. Come on, let's get it right. Okay, as though we were doing a normal finishing row and slip stitching, but we're slip stitching through the back way. Like that. Pull a loop through. Give your work a cut. And just pull that tail through. Flip it again, take out your stitch marker, and what you have is that. All right, so it kind of looks a little bit similar with a tiny little bit of a knot, and you're going to weave that end in now. In fact, we're going to do that together, and that'll help you hide that end. I tried doing it the other way. Oh, it's not very good, that end, where it's a little bit sticky outy, and I didn't like that. Did you like that word, sticky outy? Let's have a quick close-up of what it looks like in front first. And that's kind of what it looks like there. Try not to pull that too tight like I did. I've just pulled my knot way too tight. And it's loosening up as we speak. That's better. Now it's starting to look a little better. All right, then you just turn it around and you weave your end in at the back anywhere you like. And then you're just going in and out, weaving through thread like you would normally weaving in. Just making sure you can't see the needle from the front. And I'm pulling that thread right there. Let's go like that. You can't see the needle from the front. Nope. And going back the other way. I think 3 is plenty. Whoops, check the front. Oh, I can see the needle. Let's pull that out. See, sometimes it pays to check. Let's have a look at the front. Nope, good. Now I can pull that through. Now this is my 3rd time, so I'm going to leave that. Otherwise it starts looking way too bulky and you don't want that. Yeah. And that, my dears, is the end of that. If you haven't weaved in your other ends from behind there, please weave those in. And there you have it, guys. You have one gorgeous placemat for Mother's Day. And don't forget to make her a gorgeous soup as well, if she wants soup. Or you can make custard, or you can make pie, pie, cake, whatever you want to make. But there you go, one gorgeous placemat, or in my case, 2 gorgeous placemats, one different size than the other. Exactly the same amount of rows, just different threads. So it goes to show you, if you were to make this in a cotton, you would get a different size as well. If you were to make this in a 4-ply, 3-ply, 2-ply, as thin as you go, it will just get smaller and smaller and smaller. So just be wary of the yarn you are using. These are both Aran weights. They're both 10-ply or a 4-weight yarn, if you will. One is wool, one is acrylic, and that's all I want to say about that. Firstly, I just want to thank both Marty and Kiki for their colour choice for our placemat, if you will, which they didn't know was coming. And because those colours were pretty dark and you wouldn't have seen them on air, I crocheted them in these colours right here, which is the same colours to our, there it is, cardigan that you will be seeing over the next few weeks here on the channel. We are going to be making a cardigan of all sizes, so get excited about that, guys. All right, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and don't forget to join us on our Saturday mornings lives so you can be a part of our live antics color combinations. All right, thank you for joining us today, and I will see everyone on our lives. Ciao for now.